Welcome players to another drawing tutorial on Press Start to Draw. Today's tutorial has been requested by the viewer named Worse, so thank you for the request, and be sure to post down any suggestions or recommendations for any other characters you want to see on this channel. To get started, we're going to slay some monsters with the Hunter from Bloodeborne. Let's get started with the materials. First, you'll need a pencil, an eraser, and optional, a colored pencil. Let's get started, guys. Stage 1, the sketch. To start off, let's go ahead and make his boots and his legs. So make an outline of a boot and his legs. We're going to go ahead and just make a nice little silhouette of this character and then add in the detailing. Go ahead and cut off his pants. That's where his torso is going to be. Make that nice indication line. Work your way down and go ahead and make his other shoe, which is going to be pointed right towards you on the right. Just making some indication marks where I'm going to put most of his folds and his flaps on his pants. Then I'm starting on the overcoat, which is going to be overlapping his right leg. It's going to be free-flowing on him. Just making a nice overcoat outline. Adding a little pocket right there, and then I'm going to start on his collar, which is pretty simple. The shapes on a jacket are really not that complicated when you get down to it. Now he has a really big collar around his neck. Now I'm going to go ahead and make his right arm, which is going to be holding a shotgun musket type weapon. Now for his hands, it's actually just going to be a single thumb. You don't really see the whole palm of the hand. Go ahead and shape the gauntlet right there. He does wear metal leather type gauntlets on his arms. Now I'm going to go ahead and make the shotgun. This shotgun design is kind of a mix between a musket and an oversized shotgun. It's a kind of a cool design, and it mostly consists of these very, how you say, curvy metal pieces. And it has a really big black metal type of barrel. A lot of metal engravings on this gun. So yeah, it does really have a very bulky type feel to it. Make sure you capture that in the drawing. Then I'm going down. Make sure you straighten up the barrel a little bit. Leave those rough sketch lines. Those will be erased and fine-tuned in a little bit. Fine-tuning some details right there. Just making it a little bit bulkier, just to capture that, really big rust type of shape. Now I'm going up and I'm going to go ahead and complete his jacket. I kind of go back and forth on this drawing because, in my opinion, if you work on a section of a drawing for too long, it gets repetitive over time. So I just go back to other details just to keep it fresh and, less stale and not really, too boring. Here I just made that little belt, just a strap going across his torso, making the little details, which is pretty simple, just a belt buckle. Now on his shirt, it's good to mention that there is actually a lot of belt buckle straps. It's like a vest that he's wearing underneath his coat. Finishing up on the collars, which, like the actual base of the coat, it's going to be free-flowing as well, just kind of flowing in the wind type of thing. Now making his belts, which are pretty simple. Making belts are pretty simple, just make sure they're aligned with each other. Now, using very thin lines for this is actually very good. In doing so, you should use a mechanical pencil. It's very good for those thin lines, but it's, if you have a regular pencil with a fine tip, that's fine as well. That will do as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and make his blouse, his scarf, and then his face bandana. Make sure you capture those folds here and there, and make sure that you also make a nose outline for his face bandana. Now we're going to go ahead and make his pirate hat. I like to call it the pirate hat. It reminds me of, what a pirate would wear. It's a very kind of torn hat, on the edges right there. Just make sure you capture that torn, worn out feel. Now the tip is going to be right down on the center of his face, so you can't really see his eyes. You could draw eyes there, but with the shading you're going to barely see it, so I wouldn't recommend it. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish off his arm. Now his left arm is going to be holding a scythe type of weapon, I like to call it. Make that little thumb again. Again, his hand is not going to be visible. Just make a nice little simple shape for the handle. Make a circle, and then make a big rectangular slanted type of shape that's going to go behind his leg right there. Pretty simple. There's the overall sketch right there. Pause to get a better look. Stage 2, detailing. So, for his shoes, we're going to go ahead and make a metal type of engraving style. So just make thin lines going up his boot, and what I did was not capture every single line that was from the source image, but kind of make my own little shapes. I was still trying to go based on the design that I saw on the image, but I didn't use every line. That'd kind of be a little bit ludicrous, you know. So capturing every single line and engraving on that boot is really not necessary. Just be kind of free-flowing with this. Just go with the flow, and it's not really that hard. Just make sure you use nice, smooth, thin lines here and there, and also feel free to pause the video if you need to look at it, or maybe Google or bring an image of the hunter from Bloodeborne and then just look, you know, at the styles, kind of study them a little bit. That's what I would recommend. It's kind of harder to explain if you're not really like doing so, or maybe just if you're not taking a better look at it. Now make sure you capture those, you know, those flaps, those folds and wrinkles in the pants. There's a lot of stress in those pants, so make sure you capture that. I'm going to go ahead and fine-tune some details here and there. Now I got a really like Victorian type of gothic style when making his outfit, so keep that analogy in mind when drawing this guy. Just adding in some more wrinkles, some more folds, adding more of that stress in his look. You want to add in a lot of definition into a character's clothes, you know, to evoke more of a story. Like this guy has been, you know, through a lot, through a very ferocious battle with some evil monsters. Make sure you detail the gauntlet as well. It's kind of a leather type of / metal type of gauntlet, giving the same love to the left gauntlet as well. So it just basically consists of a lot of wrinkles. Now going down to his scythe weapon, it is just covered in bandages. So make sure you're making very rough, tangled bandages here and there, kind of going back up and down on the handle. And same with the blade, but this time it's going to be bigger. So make small bandages for the handle, and then big bandages for the actual blade of the weapon. Make sure you fine-tune that little circle right there. That's actually the hinge for the blade. Now we're going to go ahead and detail the actual face. Add in those nice wrinkles on his bandana. Of course, erase any sketch lines you see that don't really need to be there, because we are fine-tuning this drawing at this point. Shaping his little ear right there, and some detailing. I'm just going to kind of gray out his hair right there with my pencil. And go ahead and add in a little bit of shading right there, where his eye is supposed to be. Fine-tune his hat a little bit. Make sure you have that same ripple effect for the hat as well. So far, our hunter is looking pretty badass, so keep up the good work. You're almost there. Darkening the lines here and there. Making sure I get that nice torn effect on his hat. Sharp lead is very good for this, and also add in some wrinkles and flaps to the actual hat itself. And make sure you don't get confused between his scarf and his actual face bandana, because they are two separate articles of clothing. Alright, now this section is actually completely optional. What I did was basically I took an image from a figurine collectible and I looked at the base and had a cobblestone base. So you can make this if you want. The cobblestone basically consists of just very unneat, kind of very grimy, dirty type of cobblestone, but make sure you make those shapes very tightly packed together. And also make some rubble if you like in the background as well. That was also from the statue collectible. So I'm just making different shapes of cobblestone, but I'm making sure they're tightly packed together, making a little bit of black cracks right there. And I'm just making these circular shapes, so make sure you get that with the cobblestone base. Alright guys, final stage, shading and coloring. So what you saw right there, I just finished shading the actual pants. Now make sure for the actual wrinkles of clothing, you're adding in some dark shading here and there. We want to add in some high definition shading in the actual wrinkles of the clothing. Make sure you give the same love for the leather on the actual gauntlets. Every piece of wrinkle you see, just add in some nice dark shading right there. Now, what I did was a stylistic choice. I used black and gray, and instead of really coloring, using actual colors for the drawing, I just went with a black and gray type of feel, and then added in just red. That's the only really color you see in this drawing, so it's a more stylistic approach. And I also did with the cobblestone, so make sure you have a lot of blood, running down the cobblestone and on the rubble itself. This is evoking a lot of emotion and a lot of story for your drawing, which you always want to do. I'm adding in some blood on the bandages as well, and also I'm adding an effect where the blood is actually dripping down to the weapon. That's optional, but I think it gives that more of a really kind of a cool feel to it. Now, the bottom of his trench coat right there is actually kind of drenched in blood, so I used a very, bright shade of blood for that. I'm just basically going for the base of his actual clothing. I just went with a kind of a medium type of shade of gray, and for his belt I just used black. And what I did, as I'm, adding shading and coloring with the pencil, with my regular mechanical pencil, I'm also adding in some spots of blood here and there. I would go light on most of this spaces, but for certain areas I would go a little bit brighter with your blood. Now I'm adding in a lot of tone, definition to the actual face, adding in some more shading right there, because the hat is making an overcasting shadow. Alright guys, looks like we are almost finished here, making our hunter from Bloodeborne. Just finishing up right there, and once you're done with that guys, you won. Congratulations, drawing complete. You've completed the drawing of the hunter from Bloodeborne. Alright guys, that's it for today, and I will see you next time. Press start to draw, signing off.